Welcome to episode 2 of Illuminated, the 12 Months of I podcast. I'm excited to introduce our special guest, Ben Dulaney. Ben's journey with inner matrix systems began during a challenging time marked by a personal loss and dissatisfaction in 2013. But despite his success as a small business owner, Ben felt trapped and unfulfilled. Recognizing the need for change, he turned to the IMS tools and strategies, leading to a remarkable transformation. Through IMS, Ben found love, quadrupled his income, and discovered a newfound sense of purpose. Inspired by his journey, Ben became an IMS trainer himself, dedicated to helping others achieve breakthroughs in their lives. And today, Ben focuses on supporting small business owners to conquer stress and frustration, empowering them to embrace the freedom their businesses promise. Join us as Ben shares his insights and strategies for overcoming obstacles and finding fulfillment in life. It's a conversation you don't want to miss. And thank you, Ben, for joining me.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
So, I wanted to kind of get started with explaining to people what is your inner matrix. Can you give us a little oversight of what that is?
So, yes, essentially your inner matrix, right? This is the company that I'm a certified trainer with. They define it as essentially your unique set of internal drivers. And, it's made up of a bunch of different things, right? Your thought strategies, your emotions, your nervous system, and all of these internal drivers really drive you to make every choice, decision, and action. And so we found that by working directly with that we can support people to change very quickly, very efficiently, and in long-lasting ways.
Awesome. Now, I know that how I met you it was a very crossroads in my life. I had not been to this networking group for like years. And there was something in the back of my mind saying, you're going to go to this networking group today. And Ben got up and said pretty much what he just said about, helping people who feel blocked and stuck and looking for high achievers. And I was like, hey, that's me. I'm a high achiever. I want to talk to this guy. I've got a lot on my plate. And he was able to really just tell me what this was and did a process. Now, you talk about the training, and I am happy to say I am part of this training. And a lot of, if you've seen a difference in me lately, if you know me pretty well, um, it has to do with this training that Ben has offered with the inner matrix systems and other things that go along with that. So, how training your inner matrix is necessary? Like, how is it necessary to create the real transformation? Like, there's science and art behind it. So, why is training the most important part?
Well, it goes back to the way the mind works, and essentially, like we're all smart people, right? We're all relatively informed as to maybe our shortcomings or some things that are going on as to why we're not making a difference or creating the outcomes that we're looking to create. And that was no different than where I was when I first discovered this training system. I was in a similar place. I had quite a bit of success, but never quite making it to where I wanted to make it. And then I was running through relationships left and right. So having some success, but again, not quite getting to where I wanted to get. And even though I sort of had this idea of what was going down, it didn't translate into having the capacity. And so it's through training that you develop capacity. We're all familiar with training the body by way of like going to the gym and lifting some weights or running on a treadmill or running, around the block. Like we're all used to that idea of training the body, but we don't really think to how you can actually train your inner matrix, your nervous system, your emotions, your thought strategies. Those things can be trained, and so it's with training that you can actually elicit long term change as well as really quick transformation. And that's essentially what inner matrix systems does. Is it is a essentially a training program for the inner game.
Great. Yeah. So I've been going through this, and it really does start with that intro call with you. So, can you kind of take me through the process of really understanding? Because it wasn't just me, it was you interviewing me if I was a perfect candidate for this. Like, how do you know that someone is ready for this training?
So essentially, you mentioned high achiever a couple times, right? That's our kind of tagline. Is is at Intermatrix Systems, we train high achievers in the art and science of personal mastery. And of course, defining that high achiever is anyone that wants to better their life and they're willing to take action towards making that happen. And so that is a key factor, a key component to success in our system. And the reason is, I've been there before where I wanted something different in life, but I just wasn't quite willing to do what it takes. I wasn't quite willing to do the thing, right? Wishful thinking, daydreaming, wanting to hit the lottery, like whatever mentality that is, it's okay. But if that's where you're at, like this isn't going to work. So I like working with people that are high achievers, meaning they're used to getting themselves to do things they don't necessarily feel like doing. And when you can get yourself to do that, even if it's just a little bit, when you use the right training, the right tools, the right techniques, um, the change happens very, very quickly.
Yeah, and bringing it back to today's topic or this month's topic, which we have been really discussing in February. So this is wrapping up the month for us. And that, like how insight is critical to the process of the inner matrix systems.
So really, like insight is key. And in fact, we train insight within the system. Like it's not the last step, it's just merely the beginning. Insight doesn't necessarily translate to transformation. Now, it may translate to a little bit of motivation, but it doesn't always translate to transformation. However, it is still really, really critical. I know for me, and you and I were talking about this beforehand, like if I didn't have an insight on my own, I would have never gone down this path because when I first found this company, this training system, I was at a really low place, right? I had had a very successful marketing company that I lost in the financial crash. And, I'd had all my eggs in one basket tied to the financial industry. So that all kind of went away overnight. And, I was kind of going through my own little dark night of the soul during this time until I met the one, right? I met this lady that I thought was going to be the one. I thought we were going to get married. The clouds parted, the angels started singing, right? It was just like, yes, life is going to be better. And then ended up leaving and not just like just left out of the blue, right? And so that sent me into a grieving process. It really just kind of had me come face to face with myself. And fortunately, in the middle of all that, I did have that sort of aha moment, that insight into really just came face to face that I was the common denominator through this process, through my history, through my past. I was at the root of all my successes and all my failures. And when I came to that moment of awareness, that moment of insight, I became, fortunately, for whatever reason, bound and determined to figure out a way to change myself. And that sent me on a journey looking for different ways. I had done a ton of personal development in my past, being a successful salesperson for different companies and then doing my own businesses. Like I was always digesting and gobbling up like personal development training. I'd hired a life coach in the past. Like I'd done all kinds of different seminars and workshops. And through that whole process, I knew that there must be something that could actually support me to make the difference, right? Like I had said before, I kind of never quite gotten to where I wanted to get. And so that led me on this journey to Intermatrix Systems, where I found a training company. I started trying it out. It actually started working. Things started changing very quickly, and decided then, like, hey, this is legit. Like, I'd like to be up to training this stuff. So, went through the process to become a trainer and did all that. Now, that was all because of that moment of insight that I had. Now, if I hadn't taken any more steps, if I hadn't taken action, like that would have never, none of the rest of the story would have ever went down. And so, insight is critical. Awareness is key, but like it's not the end step. You've got to move beyond that, right? Because like I mentioned earlier, we all may be aware of some issue or some thing that's holding us back in some way or another, but then actually doing something about it is the key, is the difference.
I love when you talked about at the beginning. We talked about training because it's not a one and done. This is an investment in yourself. This is we do talk about your health and going to the gym or eating better and how they're habits. How is it like using that habit of training your mind, making it stick? Because we all have emotions. are definitely the ones that keep poking in and being like they're trying to take you away. I mean, I feel it a lot. But, the training by doing it every day, how is that, how do you make that happen every day?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the key, because like you probably know something right now that can make your life better if you just did it consistently and regularly. Like we all have that thing. Maybe it's putting some money aside, maybe it's working out, maybe it's eating a little bit differently, whatever it happens to be. How do you get yourself to do that thing? And so that's where our training system comes in. I love intermatrix systems because I have tried many different personal development things before, and really, this is a proprietary training method that has undergone rigorous, like testing. And really, it was started by Joey Klein over 20 years ago as a way to really support people to eliminate suffering as quickly as possible and to create results and outcomes and goals that they never even thought possible. And so we've taken over 80,000 people through it at this point. And one of the keys is when you can't just show up and do anything, right? If you want to eat healthy and you're like, man, eating healthy is like, I heard about the health menu at McDonald's, for example, right? Like, and if that's our idea of eating healthy, that's going to deliver a certain kind of result. Maybe it was better than what we were doing before, but when you do the right activity with the right tools and techniques, that's what creates the results. And you've got to ensure that those tools and techniques, that strategy, really supports to create the outcome. And so this is, again, key. Like you mentioned, it's part of the reason why I sort of take people through this discovery process, because I've got to see if they're going to show up for the training. They're going to show up for themselves, because at the end of the day, right, you've heard the quote, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So it's just like, if you don't do some of the activities, if you're not going to do the exercises, it's just at the end of the day not going to work.
Yeah, what I love about it is it's so supportive. I think more than anything, it's not you're doing it on your own. You have group, you have the facilitator yourself is ours in Nashville. You've got the videos online. You've got deep dives. I think that all of that together, where in the meetings industry, just to make it like relevant to what I do for a living, is a lot of times I am searching for a keynote speaker that we want to really get people inspired or tell them really good tricks, and we can sit there all day and we can feed this information to them, but what happens when they go home is it doesn't stick. And what I love about this is that it is definitely, it sticks. It's like, oh man, did I miss my meditation today? Like, you feel it within you. If you miss it, you feel it with the whole day is off. You feel a little guilty and you're like, nope, don't get into that loop of guilt, just do it. And I think that what I love about what connection that we're trying to make here with the events industry is those take homes, those takeaways. Maybe it can't be this type of journey, but there's small nuggets of information that we really need to take from people and implement them in our daily lives to change.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I love the really the way everything is organized to just really support people to create that change for themselves. That's what it's all about. Is when you do the right activity, you do the right exercise, it creates change, not just temporary but lasting change that you can really feel a difference.
You said something before about especially leading the horse to water and then knowing that, and also about you knowing that it was you. It always reminds me of like the Taylor Swift song, which I love. It's like, it's me. I'm the problem, it's me. Is that because of it's an aha moment with people? Is that insight? Is like sometimes I wonder how we get to the place where we are ready for change. Is that what insight is?
So I was a little different by way of coming to that and being real with myself in that way. And that is how it occurs for some people. Most it does not. Most it is something else going on in the world or the relationship or the other person or the, whatever economy. And while that always has an effect, that's always a part of it. It's really part of our process. Again, that intermatrix method that we take people through is really because we've got to get people in touch with what is actually going on and what is actually holding them back. Not just the perceived thing that's holding them back, but what is the actual thing that is holding you back. And so we call it really just like getting you into recognizing pattern dynamics so that you can see these pattern dynamics and then actually do something about them.
What I love is it's so visual, taking you through the process of like seeing. I love when I talk to you. Sometimes you will you'll see the spark go off, and you'll be like, "Yeah." And you said to me after the third time we spoke which is something that has always resonated with me with the Wizard of Oz, which was it was in you all along. It was always there. I actually wrote a blog about it too. If you guys want to go check out my blog about this, on how that aha moment for me really was, yeah, this is in me. I could make this happen. It's in me all along. And it's putting away the doubts, putting away the anxiety, putting away the anger that comes from that. And I love how each time we meet or each time we have a session, it builds upon it. And I know that the way that is set up is it's not like you start day one and go through it. I jumped in the middle of the process in a way, but also getting so much out of it. So I'm at a different place than others. And what's interesting, it's you can train different things. So what I love right now is I'm training my business and career and money, but I've seen it transfer over to life. Today, for example, I got up and I worked out. For the last 2 weeks, I've been training myself to eat better. This week, I said I'm going to start working out every day. I have my plan, it's on the calendar. I've got exactly what I'm going to do. So I've been training my mind to do something, which is now carrying it over to other places. Is that kind of the process and what the outcome should look like?
Yeah, I mean, we essentially take ourselves with us everywhere we go. So when you train one area, it definitely translates into other areas. I know for me, what really happened that caused me to dive in and take this, the training seriously is I ended up meeting the woman that I'm still with today. And so I had been great at getting into relationships, terrible at keeping them. And so every relationship would end after a year and a half to 2 years. But this one, we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary in Greece a few months ago. And
Congratulations.
oh, thank you so much. Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it keeps getting better. It's like better every single year, it gets better and better. And so it's not what I started off working on, though. I started off working on because I was essentially desperate for some money, some purpose, like a career. It was kind of still after the financial crash and all that, trying to figure out what it was I wanted to do. And so that's what I originally started working on. But as like a side benefit, this whole other thing occurred. And then not to mention my health is better than it's ever been.
Absolutely. So I love that one of the things that we do together is you open it up for like your struggles, because you don't when we go through the inner matrix system, we're not sitting there going that those bad things aren't going to happen and acknowledging it. And I said this to you last week. It was like, I feel like I'm in yes man right now, writing my lists and making sure like I'm saying yes to things. Am I right? Am I saying the yes to the right things? And really figuring that out on your own, but bringing things to the table as a group and being like, I'm struggling hard on this and being able to work that out and being like, you get insight every single time you listen to a practice or listen to the group. Is that the design of this, is to recognize that bad stuff will happen and how to train your brain to turn that around?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, at the end of the day, things are going to happen. Stuff is going to occur. I mean, I still have things happen to me that I would rather not have happen. That's not going to stop. It's part of this thing we call life. And so the difference is, what kind of capacity do you have to move through them? Is it, something that causes you to change direction, or is it just part of your journey? And so without developing that capacity through training, again, bringing it back to training, without developing that capacity, well, then we're kind of at the mercy of everything that happens to us, as opposed to navigating the ship how we choose. And so that's essentially that's a huge part of it, is being able to navigate those things that before, and some of the results that I have seen, right, is things that used to be such a big deal to me and would waylay me for hours, days, weeks, now are just a blip. So it's again developing that capacity, much like going to the gym. Like, you can lift heavier and heavier weights, and so things that seemed insurmountable before aren't even an issue.
Right. It's like a little brain with weights. I'm like envisioning right now a little brain, lifting weights.
Yeah, that's a great way to think of it.
Absolutely. Well, Ben, I absolutely love talking to you. We do talk often, and I wanted to bring this to our listeners just because I do believe that we don't make enough time for ourselves. And one of my biggest struggles was I'm always saying I can't say no to people. I say yes, I will help you, but I had to figure out a better way to put my business in my forefront, get over an obstacle, make some really tough decisions, but be okay with those decisions and how to move past some things. And it has really helped me, and that's why I thought this was the perfect month for you to talk about the insight and making sure that we are understanding ourselves a little better. Just before we kind of wrap it up, did you have any other little tidbits of insight you wanted to share with us?
Just essentially, if you want a goal, if you want a result, it's possible. If you've seen something happen for somebody else but not for you, know that it is possible for you. And so just don't stop looking, or don't stop striving for it, until you make it happen. And whether that means hiring someone like me or somebody else that can support you and train you in such a way, be sure and verify that, like, it can hit the mark for you, and then lean in, go for it.
Right. You got to be ready for change. I think that's
Mm.
the biggest takeaway for me is if this happened a year ago, I'm not sure I would have been ready. But this was definitely that crossroads, and I was ready for it. It's been definitely helping. I want to thank Ben Dulaney, Intermatrix System Trainer here in Nashville. If you are local, he actually does it. He's got clients all over. There are also other trainers, but I urge you to kind of check out the Intermatrix Systems, their website. I'll make sure that I give contact information. And I want to thank Ben for being here today and giving us insight on our own insights.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.